Welcome back. Now, President Donald Trump has touted the first 100 days of his second term as the most successful of any administration. Speaking at the Michigan National Guard, the president also spoke about the enormous boost in the number of Americans wanting to join the armed forces since his election triumph last November.
Since November, enlistment numbers for every branch of the armed forces have surged. Recruitment is now the highest it's been in 39 years. This goes not only for the armed forces, for the police, for firemen. People are proud of our country again. Big difference. But we had the worst numbers that we've ever had virtually. We couldn't get anybody, and now we're overstocked. We have waiting lists of people wanting to sign up and be with the military. They're proud of our country again. And I'll be supporting a record-setting $1 trillion investment in our national defense. We're going to go $1 trillion, the largest in the world, largest ever.
$1 trillion. Joining me now is American Culture Project Senior Fellow and School Choice Advocate Corey DAngelus. Corey, it has been an extraordinary 100 days. The president has set a furious pace. It's been called a counter-revolution, and one of the early signs of this was the boost in recruitment numbers. Institutions that were struggling to find recruits, the military, the FBI, the police force, they're now flooded with applications. Why do you think that is?
Well, the Trump administration inspires confidence. The American First agenda is popular with the American public, and Trump just makes people feel proud to be an American again. This is the golden age of America in education and throughout the rest of the country as well. Pete Hegseth is a great leader. He was chosen to be the Secretary of Defense. So when you have people that are proud of their country, when you don't have DEI ideology infesting all the institutions, become proud of those institutions again. It's based on merit. And so when you become a soldier, you're happy to be there and you want to brag about it to your colleagues. I saw this I do education work. When people first heard that Trump won the election in a landslide in November, they were calling me asking, how can I be a part of this? I want to be in the Trump administration. I want to work with the Department of Education and try to dismantle it from within. And this is unlike anything I've ever seen before. So this is just more of the momentum continued throughout that 100 days.
Well, we're going to talk about the Department of Education shortly, but let's focus on lawfare for a second. We saw plenty of lawfare in the lead up to the election and really has not stopped since. The efforts to frustrate every Trump policy, particularly the deportation program, is in full swing. Democrat-appointed activist judges have been particularly active. Late last week, we had Judge William Orrick of the U.S. District Court for the Northern District of California issuing a ruling stating President Trump's executive orders against sanctuary cities. He said they were unconstitutional. He blocked the Trump administration from cutting funding to sanctuary cities. Now, Fox News reports this particular judge, this Obama-appointed judge, has deep financial ties to the Democratic Party. He has spoken at events in support of Kamala Harris and Barack Obama, and he's even held leadership roles on committees to help elect Obama and John Kerry. Before I get your response, let's have a look at how bad the situation is in California.
Just how many accused criminal migrants are in sanctuary jurisdictions that have been released onto the streets. All these are sanctuary cities. Virginia, but at the very top, and I think this tells a telling story, detainers rejected locally 13,000 for the entire state of California.
Corey, it seems mad, but Californians keep voting for this lawlessness.
Yeah, and in some cases, it's even worse than that, where you have this judicial activism at its worst from Judge Orrick, giving over $100,000 to Democrat politicians like Obama, Hillary Clinton. And we'd hope that judges would be non-biased, nonpartisan. But the reality is sometimes they are less accountable than elected officials because they're appointed. And if they go against the will of the people, you can't kick them out of office. So it's a huge problem. We see this with school choice programs, too. We had an activist judge in West Virginia to stop a school choice program a couple of years ago. She was funded by the teachers' unions previously endorsed by the teachers unions. And now, in some cases, it has to get, you have to ask yourself, how bad does it have to get before things change? California's hit rock bottom. And at some point, the voters have to figure these things out and see that the GOP, Trump's party, is leading the way towards prosperity and freedom. And so hopefully the more of this judicial activism, the more that California keeps electing these politicians who are authoritarians who want to control your lives, at some point they're going to reverse course and maybe they'll start backpedaling, or at some point Republicans will start to win more seats.
Now, let's look at the US Department of Education. Their Office for Civil Rights has launched an investigation into Chicago public schools for an academic achievement initiative called Black Student Success Plan that discriminates on the basis of race. Well, it's kind of in the name, isn't it, Corey? Tell me what's the latest on this.
I mean, it's atrocious. It's a direct violation of Article 6 of the Civil Rights Act in the United States. And look, they're discriminating on the basis of race. That school system's failing kids of all different backgrounds, Black, white, Hispanic, and so on and so forth. They should try to improve outcomes for everybody and not single out one group. That is a clear violation of civil rights law, and hopefully they should lose their funding over this issue, or hopefully they can reverse course and try to up their game and raise the bar for all students. But in Chicago, you have 6% of Black kids that are reading proficiently. I mean, it's a failure factory of a system, and they're spending $30,000 per kid per year. Things need to change. School choice would provide some competition for improvement.
Well, Chicago is really an example of what not to do, because as you said, they are spending an enormous amount per student and the results are abysmal. It really is hard to see how you could have results that are so appalling given the expenditure, given the programs that they've supposedly have come out to address this issue. And yeah, if you want to do well academically, do the opposite of Chicago. Now, you wrote a piece in the National Review about the battle for school choice, particularly when it comes to rural families. You say they want educational freedom and they're voting for it at the ballot box. Tell me why this battle matters.
Yeah, for a long time, the teachers unions knew they couldn't make left-leaning arguments, Democrat arguments in red states. They had to come up with some so-called conservative arguments to stop school choice. And one of them, including my home state of Texas, was that rural voters don't want this. We don't have a lot of private schools in rural areas. The public school is the only option. And therefore, it's okay for you to vote with the Democrats. But the oldest voucher programs in the United States started over 150 years ago in places like Maine and Vermont, where they were specifically designed for kids in rural areas. They figured out if you don't have a lot of choices, a lot of opportunities, that's an argument to expand freedom in education, not to restrict it. So they gave scholarships to kids to go to private schools that they wanted. And the victories this year prove it too, that rural voters want school choice. They voted out the rhinos in office who voted against their party platform, who voted with the Democrats. They held them accountable at the ballot box. And now you have states like Texas who went all in on school choice, Tennessee, Wyoming, and so on and so forth. Rural areas are passing school choice left and right in the United States, which really just debunks the claim that rural voters don't want this. They absolutely do.
It's a huge issue, and I've seen that on the ground in the US. It's an issue that really gets people motivated, even people who weren't particularly politically active in the past will do this because it's in the interest of their children. It has an enormous impact on the children's future prospects. Corey DAngelus, you've done great work in that area. Thanks for your time tonight.